Hello, I think we're live here. Um, Hello, everybody. Sorry in advance I didn't do a video last night. To be quite honest, I felt a bit dejected by the end. And obviously, if you guys don't know, I was on the SCFC Fan TV live stream for the good part of what was originally going to be about an hour, I suppose, but ended up being like 3.5 hours by the end. Um, Oh, sorry, nearly three. And yeah, no, it was just over 3 hours by the end of it. So, and fair play to Mike, by the way, on Fan TV, who ended up hosting that. That was absolutely incredible effort from him. But yeah, the transfer window is finished. We are done with transfers until the summer, and now we've just got a full steam ahead for the next 17 games of the championship. So, I thought rather than doing a video last night, because I just couldn't find the energy to do one, to be honest. So apologies about that. But I thought I'll do a live stream here instead to sort of look back at what we've done, the business we've done both in and out of the club, and then just sort of assess my view on it. So we shall see. Guys, get in the comments below. See what you want to see. Sorry, I'm just having a quick look. See, yeah. I'm just trying to get up the business we've done so I can actually use it as a reference point. So I'm not trying to get anything. Right, let's quickly go through some of the comments. So Thane says, I'll miss the stream, but I'll quickly add this. I'm giving the window a 4 out of 10, and that's being generous. We haven't improved the squad, and we lost Pritchard, who was a key player in experience. We'll spare a thought for Thane because he absolutely loves Alex Pritchard, bless him. But yeah, we'll get onto that in a bit. Your mum's favourite, God. I was like, all right, mate. James Wales has been quite busy in the comments. Let's have a look. We got rid of a player who asked for a contract extension, was offered it, and then wanted more. Then went off crying because he didn't get what he wanted. Get rid. So, signing a new forward player, defender, and central midfielder who can play left back are important moves. Could have done with a striker, but oh well. Terry Brown, we only came for the Pepsi. What? You mean like this one? And I'm not drinking it, and I'm not pouring it over my head. Like I did that enough last night, and nobody wants to see that again. Tom Oxon and Ori Michael Mate Mundell could be a great player, and obviously Clark replacement. Good shout. We'll come on to that. Jim Stevens, Yelda, right? Yelda is how you pronounce the name, apparently. So I'm going to try not to get that wrong. Yelda in at left back, Hume at right back, Seal at the back, 09 in defensive midfield, Job OTB on the bench. Okay, I think that's what you meant anyway. Terry Brown, in all seriousness. Yeah, so let's go through it. So if I'm right, let's just have a quick assessment of it. So incoming transfers. Once I can actually get this thing up. So incoming transfer. So we'll start with outgoings actually. Or do we? Yeah, go on. We'll start with outgoings. So outgoings, and I'm not including like players from the academy or whatever else it is. Then we'll wait and see. Terry Brown, in all seriousness, will you be doing a review of the Borough game in this pod? Well, I'll be doing my own video on the Borough game. If I get asked to go on a podcast, I might go and do a review of the Borough game, but we'll wait and see. I'm not going to Borough, by the way, because I know there will be people who asked. I'll be out into the pub to watch it. Quite frankly, I've been to Borough a few times, and those games, other games, I'd rather save me money for than Middlesbrough, and it's on Sky anyway. So, and it's a pretty crap lunchtime kickoff on a Sunday. Like it's great thinking for the fans as ever, Sky as always, but we know what they're like at this point. Right, outgoings. So I'm not including academy players. So, for example, Kelechi Chibuze, I don't know how you pronounce that, but according to this, he's gone on loan to Consett or Harry Garnett at the Blythe Spartans or Zach Johnson at Hartlepool. I'm not counting like that. I'm talking players that would have primarily been amongst the first team squad. So let's start with, I'll save Alex Pritchard till last. So the loan players I've got here. So we've got Jack Diamond going on loan to Carlisle United. Jim Stevens wrote reports earlier said we signed a 17-year-old winger from Glentoran. Interesting. Oh, yeah, I did see that. Maybe it might be a replacement for Jack Clark's replacement. Who knows? Right, Jack Diamond. We'll talk about one Jack. Jack Diamond on loan to Carlisle United. Well, first and foremost, obviously, we can talk a little bit about this because obviously we couldn't really, I don't think any publication or YouTube channel or podcast could mention what was going on with Jack Diamond over the last year while it was an ongoing case. So I'll leave the legal stuff out of it. Let's just say now that that's done and seems to be dealt with at least for now, that Jack Diamond needed to now obviously get to a point where he's going to be playing football again. And obviously, look, he's had more important things on his mind over the last year or so. But for me, Jack Diamond was one where I always felt like we would view him as a player who probably wasn't going to quite cut it in the championship. I wasn't personally, if I'm being honest, I wasn't totally convinced by Jack Diamond in League One. But maybe I'm jumping the gun and judging too quickly. I think it's a good move for Carlisle. I think it's a good move for them. I think it's a good one to get Jack Diamond some first team experience and to get him some game time in League One. And I suspect now, if I'm right, I think his contract's up at the end of the season anyway. So I very much doubt we're going to offer him a new one, unless we offer him a new one to then sell him on. But I wouldn't be surprised if we just cut ties at this point. Jewison Bennett. Oh God, I'll just say Aris. I'm not even going to bother trying to pronounce that last name. But Jewison Bennett. Here's a funny one, right? Because Jewison Bennett, I like him, and I do think there is something there, but he's very, very raw. He's a very, very raw player, and I think it's one where even last summer, or even last January, or even last summer, to be honest, he was someone who I wanted to see go out on loan and get some minutes. I think it would have made more sense for him to go and get a bit of first team game time, and because he wasn't going to get that here. Let's be honest, he wasn't getting that here, and it would have been the right idea for me to let him go out somewhere where he is going to play more regularly. So I have no problem with that deal. Actually, I think it makes quite a lot of sense. And then if he comes back at the end of the season and he's a better player for it, then great. If not, then maybe we can cut ties and sell him. Jay Matete. Okay, so these last 3 loan deals happened. Well, the next 4 deals happened on deadline day, which was quite interesting. So one that kind of came out of nowhere. Well, actually, I think probably all 3 of these came out of nowhere, but to an extent. But Jay Matete. Now, I had been told that there was interest in Matete across the month. I'm surprised he went on loan to League One, mind. I did think he would have gone on loan to maybe like a Plymouth or something, or maybe even a Sheffield Wednesday, something like that in the Championship, because I think ultimately, from our perspective, we need to see if he's good enough for Championship level, don't we? We need to see if he's, what's the word I'm looking for? If he's got it to cut it in the Championship, because let's be honest, it's quite unlikely we're going to go up this season. So for me, you got to look at it with next season. Well, if we don't go up this, obviously, look, we're just outside the playoffs by a point. You can't rule it out, but in the event we don't go up, then obviously into next season, you've got to look at it in the sense that Matete could have been a handy player to have for next season. And I think he might still have another 2 years left on his contract, if I'm right. I think we signed him on a 4.5-year deal when we signed him, and that was 2 years ago, January 2022. So that means his contract runs out in 2026. So for me, I think this is an important one for Matete. If he can get regular game time at Oxford and really set a good marker for himself, then I reckon there's a good chance that he might end up departing permanently in the summer. It might be that the club simply moved past where Matete's natural and best level is. And there's nothing wrong with that. That happens. It happens the other way around, where players like Jack Clark, for example, if we don't go up, will be gone in the summer. He'll grow quicker than what we will as a club, and likewise, we probably grown quicker than Matete will. It's just, sometimes that happens, and there's nothing wrong with it. But good move for Oxford. Good midfielder for League One. We'll wait and see. My personal instinct, maybe long term, I don't think he's got a future here, but you never know. Hopefully I'm wrong on that regard in a good way. Right, 2 loan. Tom Hodgson. To let 5 go out and only bring 3 in was never going to go down well, and was a poor window overall. I'll get onto that towards the end, my friend. But yeah. So 2 loan deals that went to the same club in Hibernian. So we had Nectarius Triantis, who went out to Hibernian for the rest of the season, and Hib's announcement was great. To use the Nectar card thing, which was just really, really funny in my opinion. But right, Nectar Triantis. All I've watched of him is the game against Birmingham back in November, and I thought he looked pretty solid that day. I thought, considering that was his first start, I believe he wasn't meant to be playing until like 5 minutes before kickoff when he found out. So I actually think that was good for him to actually get on board with that. But Triantis, I think, is at the point where he needs to get games as well, because I have a feeling next season, particularly if Ballard's sold, then I think we're going to need to see some use for him. So with Triantis, I think it's a good move. I think the Scottish Premiership is a physical division, and I think it's a good way for him to sort of try and get some game time, to get some match sharpness up, basically, and to get used to and get accustomed to the divisions over here, like whether it's Scotland or England or Ireland or whatever. So he could be one that I think it's one with half an eye on next season. So I've got no problem with that one. Eliza Mienda. Now that was the one that surprised me the most, because we heard next to nothing about it, I don't think, unless I've been looking in the wrong places. We didn't hear much, if anything, about it until right after the window had shut. So in a lot of ways, I'm quite glad that one of the young strikers has gone out on loan, whether it was Hamir or Mienda, because Hamir and Mienda are viewed as players for long-term at Sunderland. They are viewed as players who, within the next couple of years, could be ones that could be leading the line, could be ones that once they've got some experience, once they actually go out and get some minutes, then they can start to really push forward, especially if we're still in the championship at that point. Meander, I like. When I've watched him play for Sunderland, I know he's raw as well, but I think there has been bits of him that I do actually end up liking. So in that regard, I think him going out to get some regular game time, I think is a good thing, providing Hibs actually give him it. I like the look of that, and again, I think it'll get him adapted to physicality of Scottish football, which in turn will help him for English football. So we'll wait and see with that one. But Meander, I think I'm not complaining about the fact he's going out on loan. Me personally, if we were going for a striker, I wouldn't have complained if we'd gone for Macaulay Langstaff and offered them, say, Hamir as part of the deal for the rest of the season on loan. But yeah, obviously that didn't materialise in the end. So Meander, not complaining about the fact he's gone out on loan along with Triantis, and the fact they're both going to the same club might end up helping each other out. And once again, we have a weaker squad following transfer deadline day. Disagree with that, but there you go. I don't think we're stronger, mind, but I don't think we're weaker either. We're short up front and defensive midfield, so we let the backup we have go out on loan. Surely they realise we have a lot of injuries. I think in full-back areas, you could argue that. We definitely do. In defensive areas, we have a lot of injuries. But then again, this is Sunderland. Injuries as part of the DNA, I suppose. Right, the big one. So the big departure, and that was probably most talked about, Alex Pritchard. Well, obviously, there was Josh Robertson leaving the academy to go to Brighton, but we'll not count that one. But Alex Pritchard going to Birmingham. That's this is an opinion. This is one that ever since last Saturday, with the whole debacle about the contract situation and the whole debacle about requesting to not be able to play and all that stuff, that's kind of caused a bit of disruption within not disruption, but a bit of debate within the fan base. In my own opinion, with Pritchard, I think it had reached a point where we probably then had to get rid and part ways, and probably for the sake of his own career as well as ours, as well as us as a club. But I've made my opinion known. But for those of you who don't know my opinion on the Pritchard thing, I think Pritchard, because I kind of went into it after the Stoke game, but I barely scratched the surface. I think with the Pritchard situation, I think a lot of it depended on how badly did Pritchard want to stay at Sunderland. If you believe depending on what you want to believe, he apparently wanted to go last summer, or there's other people who have you believe the club tried to force him out. The truth lies somewhere in the middle of that, probably. If Pritchard did want to stay, then I think the club, especially Speakman, handled his contract situation atrociously, if I'm honest. I feel like that if he did really want to stay, then we should have, A, offered him a new deal a while back, and B, I know James obviously made the point that you probably disagree with this, but for me, I think B, offered him a bigger contract in terms of wages, and I think it's fair that he asks for that because because if you look at it, he signed in July 2021, and that was a 2-year deal with the club option of another year. So the 2-year deal covers the League One promotion year and last season in the Championship, and then this is the year that would have covered the extension. Now, unless that extension includes an increase in wages, which I don't think it would have done, then he would have been stuck on his League One salary 18 months after we've gone out of League One. So personally for me, I think he has every right to want to ask for a bit more money, and the club only, and if it's right that the club only offered essentially the same contract again, that's a bit of an insult in my opinion. Now, is Pritchard the best player we've got? No. Is he one of the best players in the league? Hell no. But for me, I did think he was someone who was contributing, and I think it would have been fair to offer him a bigger contract personally. But nevertheless, I think that is on the club more so than it is on Pritchard. But at the same time, I think Pritchard essentially refusing to play. And this idea, you could say, well, you don't want to take everything the club believes as gospel. Of course you don't. But let's not pretend that players don't do this. Like, players do a lot of things as well to try and make themselves sound better. For me, I think if Pritchard did refuse to play, then sod off. Like, for me, that's not on. I don't think it's fair to do stuff like that. So at the end of the day, look, we've moved on. Pritchard's gone, and that's that. I do agree with the idea that we are now another experienced player light. But at the same time, I think in that position, depth-wise, we have got enough cover to cover it. Whether it's good enough depth, time will tell on that one. But I think we do have enough depth in that position. Right, that's the outgoings done, unless there's anything I've missed. So anyone in the comments below on their chat, as long as it's obviously respectful, then tell me if there's anything that I have missed, because it wouldn't surprise me. But let's look at the incomings. Well, actually, because I don't even need to look at the list for that. It's pretty much 3 incomings, isn't it? This revealed that true character of Pritchard, and so we need to get rid of people like that. Look, well, Huddersfield fans will agree with you, James. A lot of Huddersfield fans said this is pretty much similar to what he did at Huddersfield. So the truth of the matter is the people who will know the truth are those at the club and Alex Pritchard. They are the ones who will know the truth of what's happened. But like I said, if he did end up refusing to play, then I think fans have every right to be pissed off by that, but to be honest. Right, incomings. So, the first one was Leo Yelder. Now, I think I've got that wrong, but again, tell me in the chat if I am wrong. Yelder, heard mixed things, right? He hasn't. I did a message. I got a message off someone in the championship panel chat because I'm with a channel called. There's a channel called Ants Leicester Fan Channel, which is a championship panel show, basically. But he in that we have someone called Carl, who's a good lad, Leeds fan. He messaged me when we got Yelder and said, "Look, you're getting a good player. Just would have liked to have seen him develop at Leeds." I think in that sense, we've recognised the cover that went, and to cover Paul's point about the injuries, I think that is to try and combat that. I think that the signing of Yelder is to try and combat the injuries that we've then got. Because I think what have you got? Elise, Sirkin, and there's a couple of other players out injured. Huggins out for the rest of the season. We've got 3 fullbacks out injured, which is something else, isn't it, from Sunderland's point of view? But Yelder, I've heard positive things. I think apparently he did quite well at Rotherham last season, which is in the Championship. So obviously he's already at the point where he's progressed past Rotherham as a club. So we'll wait and see. Time will tell on that one. I wouldn't. Maybe it might see a shift towards going towards a back 3 in the coming games. We don't know. So again, with that one, time will tell. We've spent something like I think up to £2 million on him, which suggests to me we do see something in him. So we'll see. The second one, well, basically both deals happened on deadline day, didn't they? The first one was. And I think I'm going to get this name wrong or pronunciation wrong, but let me quickly double check it. Where is it? Here we go. Romain Mundle. So I think that's how you say it. This one's the one that's probably caused the most intrigue, in my opinion. I'll get on to that in a minute. Chester Leicester. Hey, Leicester fan, by the way. Not a big fan of you shouting "How we the lads" on the live stream because I know you're doing it for a bite, but there you go. Hi, Michael. Hope all is well. What's with Pritchard refusing to play? Basically wanted a bigger contract, wanted a slightly longer contract, and the club wasn't willing to give him it. So we shall wait and see. But yeah, apparently he has to be withdrawn from the squad, which I think has rubbed a lot of people up the wrong way, and rightly so, because I wasn't impressed when I saw that. DJ Dave, hi Michael, mate. Surely we could move Luke into a central midfield role, allowing Sealed to move alongside Ballard, Hume at right back, new guy at left back. Maybe. I personally quite like O'Nien at centre half. I think he does a better job there than what some people think he does. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm wondering whether Callum Styles, and I'll get onto Callum Styles in a minute, but I think Callum Styles, is he meant to be that midfielder? That's just my guess. I don't know, but we'll find out. Right. I was going to say Mundle. This is the one that's caused the most intrigue and most, dare I say, excitement, or at least a bit of optimism from supporters. A lot of people. Anthony Johnson, we just signed someone new into the academy. The lad we were linked with Ruroka report. Okay, for the academy, fair enough. Right, thanks for telling me, Anthony. But yeah, Mundle. He's the one that I think a lot of people, we've been told quite a few times, especially from Spurs fans, that he apparently did really well in their academy, and he was someone who Spurs wanted to keep long term. He was offered a long term contract by Spurs, but apparently turned it down to go to Standard Liège. And I believe at Liège he hasn't really. I think Liège, he hasn't really played much there. I might be wrong, unless he's had an injury. I don't know, or some other insinuating circumstances. But with Mundle, he's coming here, and I think someone put in the chat earlier, and I'm trying to find the comment, and it's a very good point. Let me see. Oh yeah, here we go. It was Tom. Mundle could be a great player and obviously an obvious Clark's replacement. That wouldn't surprise me. We do tend to do succession planning at the club. So I do think, contrary to what some fans like to say, we actually do succession planning, in my opinion. And I think with Mundle, it's one where I wouldn't be surprised if we playing him now or getting him used to it to then prepare for Clark going in the summer. That's the sort of thing I get. How good he is from Spurs fans' point of view, we've been told they were very disappointed not to keep him long term. And with Liège, obviously, with him going to Liège and then coming back to Sunderland, a lot of fans think that he'll tear up the Championship. I'd like to see how raw he is as a winger, because obviously I've seen highlights and clips of him doing it in Spurs academy side, but there's a big difference between doing it in the academy side and doing it at first team level. They're 2 completely different levels. So we'll see if he can actually progress and step up. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is viewed as a longer term signing. You got to remember, with Yelder and with Mundle, both have signed 4.5-year contracts, so we're viewing them as players for the future. If you believe what Speakman says, which I know some fans don't, but I believe on the actual statement for Mundle, if you bear with me, I will try to have a look. While I'm doing that, James says, I think we need to come around to the mindset that Elise is a player we cannot wait to be around fit again. Hang on, comes that. He sadly gets injured too often, so it becomes a waste of focus long term. Yeah, good shout, to be fair. I wouldn't be surprised at that. If he's not going to be able to be regularly fit, then we need to move on from him, unfortunately. I like Elise, but they have it. Right, so this was Speakman said, talented players like Remain are highly sought after, and when we saw this firsthand in the summer when he left Tottenham Hotspur, we didn't anticipate him being available on a permanent basis, but when we sensed an opportunity, we moved quickly and decisively to make it happen. Okay, so again, obviously something Speakman says, even I admit I'm a big Speakman fan, but even as someone who is a Speakman fan, some of the things he says can be interpreted the wrong way. So I think I mean, personally, I don't really give two hoots about how he talks, and I wish people would stop, to be honest, but there you go. That's their prerogative. That's their right to do so. So for me, with Speakman, but I think there are some things he says that obviously can skirt around a lot of issues. I will admit that. If that is right, though, that players like Mundell are highly sought after usually, and there was an opportunity there to make this happen, then hopefully within the next 18 months or so, we're going to be seeing a really cracking player. We will see. And the last player we brought in is Callum Styles, not Harry Styles, but yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. It was just about plans for Sunday with some mates. Right. Right. Callum Styles. So this is an interesting one. Barnsley fans have got the opinion that his attitude isn't very good. I don't know what the circumstances were at Barnsley, so we'll wait and see with that. But very quickly, guys, there's 29 people watching as of right now, or 30 people. Hit the like button. It would mean a lot to us if you've liked the stream, if you want to put up with me waffle for a bit longer. But right, Callum Styles. Barnsley fans seem to have the opinion his attitude's not very good. But again, I want to stress different characters suit different clubs. So, for example, when we signed Jack Clark, I bet you there were fans of Stoke, of QPR, of Leeds to a lesser degree later on down the line who felt he wouldn't have been very good. And we signed Jack Clark, and look what's happened. It might be that Callum Styles needed to get a move away. If his attitude did stink with Barnsley, then obviously that doesn't speak volumes of his character. But he's someone who I think primarily, and I've heard he's a midfielder who can play attacking midfielder on the wings and left back. So we love our utility players at Sunderland, don't we? But I suspect if Callum Styles is signed as that sort of defensive midfielder, and he has got a lot of experience, he's got a lot of games under his belt. So hopefully we don't act like he's inexperienced because he isn't. I reckon then that he could be if he is the defensive midfielder, then I've got no problem with that. For me, obviously getting into a striker, I do think striker I would have liked to have seen us sign. Me personally, I think we can do without one because I still believe that Russian will come good if we actually start playing to his bloody strengths and actually start putting the ball in the box a bit more regularly. His Preston goal, yes, it was one goal, but it's a prime example of what I've been saying, that the movement he makes for that goal suggests he is a striker to me. And for me, I think that you could have lived without a striker, but the one area where I felt we had to sign was a central midfielder. If Styles is that, then they have addressed it. How good he is, again, like I always say, time will tell on that front. Sorry, dogs barking in the background. But yeah, Styles, I'm interested to see how this one pans out. Now, obviously, it's a loan deal with an option to buy. So that suggests to me we are just saying we'll loan him, see how he does for 6 months, and if we like what we see, then we can maybe go revisit in the summer with Barnsley to try and go and get him permanently. So that's the 3 deals we did. Let's have a quick look at some more of the comments. James again. Speakman's very good at giving information on every transfer. I think access to the decision making is a double-edged sword. Those who dislike him have ammunition, while it satisfies his fans. Fair point. Anthony says, I think Speakman has gained our trust. They're the experts. They know what they're doing. It'll be exciting to see the next phase of the model working when we inevitably sell Jack Clark. So thanks very much, guys, for the comments. Hello, Anthony Acacia, by the way. So 6 out, 3 in, allowing us to focus on development more. Acacia, all right, Bowers, I'm watching you from work. Oh, well, good. Hopefully you're all right, and give me love to your mother as well. Hopefully Nikki's all right. But yeah, okay. I think the big thing with the model, and I know a lot of fans are sick of hearing that word, but a lot of the model, so to speak, is that when we make a big, I get the impression we're going to not start spending really big until we make a big sale. And in some senses, I don't mind that. I don't mind the idea because contrary to what some fans think, sustainability is a big thing these days. You do have to make sure that you can not run yourself into the ground. And I do trust the recruitment team. I do quite strongly trust the recruitment team, actually. I do think we have generally done some good work. My my thing is, I will then start to judge the. I would love to start seeing more money being spent once Clark is sold, because as I've said before, once the summer goes, if we do not get promoted, Clark will be off in the summer. There's no doubt about it in my mind. It's not lacking ambition; it's realism. Like if anyone genuinely thinks we will be keeping Clark next season if we don't get promoted, then unfortunately, I think your head's in the cloud. I'd love that to be the case, but sadly not. For me, that then becomes once you then sell Clark, I wonder I then wonder what will happen with that money. And you got to bear in mind, if, say, for example, and I've had this conversation with friends all the time, but I'll have it here quickly. If you sell Clark for something like 25 million in the summer, and that's the minimum we should be getting, and get lost if anyone's scoffing at that price, because that's the market. Tough luck. So if it's 25 million, and with Clark's 25% sell on clause that Spurs have, that is roughly around 18 and a half, 18 and a half. I think it's 18.75 million basically, because Fabrizio Romano said that apparently 30 million euros was what we were looking at in the summer, which roughly equates to 25 million quid. 25% of that is 6.25 million. So 18.25 million, 18.75 million, sorry, is what we then get for Clark. Now, I appreciate it will be in installments, it will be amortized, but getting that money, I'd be very keen to see then what happens with that money, because if at least about a good 2/3 to 3/4 of that is not reinvested directly back into the team, then I think it's fair to start asking some really serious questions. So that's where I think and that's what, to go back to Anthony's point to round about it. That'll be the next phase of what's going on. James, wait, Paul's wait, hang on. Santa Claus, you're about 10 months too early, mate, but I love you. Good afternoon, Michael. Love your work. Would love if the club stop being political and focus on getting it straight behind the scenes. Yeah, behind the scenes, there is still things that we could be better at. Paul says clearly the signing of Yelder means they don't rate Anderson at all. So we'll stay at Shrewsbury. At least get a decent bit of money. Let's wait and see what happens. But yeah, actually, I wouldn't bet against that. James says, I think selling Clark could be a blessing. If he sold for £30 million, we can stop being reliant on one player each week and we can invest more on really high quality young players. Good shout. Anthony again says Rangers didn't rate Diallo to some respects. He never set the world alight. Similar to styles at Barnsley, we could be signing a gem, and the fact we have the option to buy this time around is great. Look, that's another good thing. If you look at majority of the business we've done, with the exception of Styles and Burstow, every signing we've got is our player. So that's a good thing. And to quickly touch on James's point, I think selling Clark for a big fee would mean that we can then take bigger risks in the summer without damaging ourselves financially. So look, we'll wait and see. And I know there's obviously some fans that have the well, I'm not going to see any of that money, so why should I care? Unfortunately, that's how football is, and it allows a lot of things in terms of clubs being sustainable and be able to take bigger risks while also not damaging and putting the club in danger. Unfortunately, that's just how behind the scenes. That's just how football is these days. KJ, I don't get we didn't get a striker last night. We've only sorry, only got three now. To be fair, we only play one up top anyway. So for me, I would have liked to have seen another striker, but I don't think it's an area. But I would have liked to have seen another one. I think we should have been looking to get another one, but it's one I think we can live without if we start getting the best out of what we've got. But that "can" is the key word, though. So for me, in terms of the window, I know Thane earlier mentioned, hang on, Anthony says, do you not think this window was the first major sign of the big money bubble bursting in the English system, FFP having a big impact? Well, that's another quick point. Before I start to wrap this up and judge the window, people have mentioned Hull and Ipswich a lot. Ipswich signed Kiefer Moore, and I can't believe I've gone nearly 29 minutes without mentioning Kiefer Moore, actually. Right, Kiefer Moore. He was the striker that apparently Sunderland wanted. He was the striker that I would have liked us to have signed. Some people thought he was just basically a lump up top, but I disagree. I think he would have been a big focal point and would have got more out of what we have got. Now that we haven't got, but this is the big thing. I've heard Kiefer Moore is on around 40k a week or 40k, 43k a week at Bournemouth. Bournemouth wanted someone to cover a large proportion of his wages. Ipswich apparently are prepared to cover 75% of that. How much is that a week that you're paying for a loan player? 30 grand a week. So I wanted him, but when I've seen the loan fee the wage contribution that Ipswich are paying, 30 grand a week, I think that's nonsensical. I think that is absolutely ridiculous. And it's not just my opinion. I think James Cotley, for example, great lad at the Sunleco, agrees. I think for me, I think unless the player is absolutely world class, I think it's hard to justify paying that per week. Anything up to between 15 to 20k a week, I think might have been justifiable. But I think 30 grand a week, I think that's a hell of a lot of money to pay for a loan player. So if that was what it would have took to get him, then I'm relieved in the end we didn't. Now, obviously, Kiefer Moore can contribute towards Ipswich. That's fair enough. I understand that. But another thing I would urge people to remember is we mentioned Hull and we mentioned Ipswich. The one player Hull got that I'm still a little bit annoyed that we didn't go for is Fabio Carvalho. I still think we missed a trick there, but it might be that Hull are having to pay a similar amount of portion of his wages. I've heard there was a seven-figure loan fee or high six, seven-figure loan fee. So the point I was going to make was Hull and Ipswich, yes, absolutely, are pushing the boat out to try and get promoted. And don't worry, that's not a dig, by the way, using that quotation because I've used that phrase before. They are going out to try and get promoted. Now, the question I would ask people is, yes, it's worth it if you do go up, but what happens if you don't? What happens if Ipswich? I think Ipswich and Hull. What happens if they both go up? Sorry, don't go up. What state financially are they going to be in next season? I would not be surprised. I would not be surprised if both of them are going to be in serious bother next season, or not so serious bother, but much closer to the FFP limits because of this. And if it works and they go up, great. But we don't know that'll happen yet. So I do understand that the club, and again, and I've said this, even as a fan of the model, I do appreciate that down the line, the wage bill's going to have to start going up. If we're genuinely going to be serious about trying to challenge for the Premier League and to make sure we sustain ourselves in the Premier League when we get back there and not just yo-yo, then the wage bill's going to have to go up. Simple as that. I don't the model. I love the work we've done, and it gets you to a point. But you do need to, and this is why I do defend Speakman and Harvey for the work they've done. The fact we probably are one of the lower wage bill spenders in the Championship, and we're outside the playoffs, I think should be, with any objective fan, should be a testament to how good the work has been done. But you've then got to here, now raise the wage bill to go up to here. That's the best way I can sum it up. So, for my own opinion, I'll be interested to see how Hull and Ipswich do next season if they don't get promoted. I don't blame them for not going out and paying 30k a week for Kiefer Moore when he's not going to be our player. When he is our player, that might be a slight difference. But like with a lone player, like James said, 30k a week for a player we wouldn't own, leading to a very unlikely promotion and remaining in the Championship. Yeah, well, look, I still would have liked Kiefer Moore. I still would have liked us if we'd got even someone as a striker who's a focal point would have been nice. But it's done now. We've got to make do with what we've got. Let's quickly go through some more of the comments. That dog will not shut up in the background. Hamir should have been sent out on loan Acacia. And FFP. Patrick, hey mate, how you doing? Hi Michael, Thane, and Alicia. I think you mean Acacia, but oh yeah, you've said it later in the chat. All be forgotten soon enough if we start climbing the table, though. Yeah, that is true. We've obviously got a game on Sunday. Look, we've got the games coming up. We've got a couple of hectic weeks coming up in fixtures. So let's fingers crossed we start getting some wins on the board regularly. DJ Dave says, do you think Premier clubs will sniffing around Pato and Neil as well as Clark in the summer? I'll come back to that question in a minute. Acacia, it's basically Patrick and Acacia just sort of having a laugh over Acacia. Remember, Patrick, Acacia is a big Sheffield Wednesday fan, though. Sorry, Acacia, not sorry. Right. DJ's comment about Premier League clubs in the summer. There obviously then is the risk that if we don't go up, which I don't think we will, but don't go up, then obviously people think that the squad's going to get absolutely dismantled. I do agree that Clark will definitely be gone. I think Ballard will possibly be gone. Neil, maybe. Beyond that, I do think we will keep the rest of the squad, or we should, in my opinion. You can afford to sell one or two players as long as you've got plans to replace them. I don't think you can afford, if you sell more than that, though, then I think, it's not going to be, it's not feasible. I actually think with the likes of Ballard going, for example, if, say, Ballard goes and he's sold in the summer, then I think someone like Sealed is already there to be his replacement. And I think he's already there to slot in once Ballard is eventually sold. I think Ballard is one, obviously, that you should be able to get a good fee for as well. For me, between 10 and 15 million for Ballard's about right. Maybe even pushing on to 15 million. Clark, and bear in mind, Ballard, by the way, is under contract for another 3 years after this year. So, Clark, I think, will definitely be gone in the summer if we don't go up. But I think the challenge then becomes what then happens, what fee do we get, and then what happens with the fee subsequently once we do receive it. So I'm interested to see what happens with that one. Hopefully I've answered that well enough. Okay, so you're right, 10th of February, we have the home game. You and me be having a word again for me about it. Oh, don't worry, I've got a Sheffield Wednesday shirt for you. James, I wish we would have gotten him via It would have been a game. It would have been a game changer for our players' mentalities. Seeing a player who knows what it takes to be a player at a higher level would be so valuable. I still think I would have liked us to have signed him, but the only thing I would have said is, why haven't we signed him like earlier when he's been a free agent since last summer? I personally would have liked us to have signed him, but there you go. And says players leaving the summer: Clark, Evans, Dak, Embo, Elise, Robertson, Hume. All my opinion, of course. I agree with Clark. Evans, Dak, Embo, and Elise. Robertson, Hume are the two I disagree with. I think we'll keep them, but we'll wait and see. You might be right. We don't know. Anthony Johnson's Macam answers, we've signed Reece Walsh from Glentoran, Northern Ireland, 17-year-old winger. Hello, Doug, by the way. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Sorry to hear the news over a week ago about Klopp leaving. That took me by surprise. Yeah, okay. Right, Anthony says, in your opinion, what are the chances of us getting playoffs this season? And if we do, winning, we could still technically start. Oh, okay. What's my opinion on that? The squad we've got, I think, should be capable of challenging for the playoffs, if not finishing in them. But for me, I can't get past Beale. If you're asking me right now, what are the chances out of, say, 10, just as an example, I reckon it's about 5 to 6, maybe 5 to 6, 50, 60% chance out of 100, rather, of getting into the playoffs. I don't think with Beale we'll get there. I think with Beale we'll probably get top half, but that's about it. Well, top half, maybe top 10, but we'll wait and see. The league's just too tight. It really is. Yeah. 49 people watching, guys, by the way. Mental, actually. Hit the like button. Let's get to, say, 30 likes. That would make me day. James, well, what has Beale done wrong thus far? I'm not saying he's done anything wrong, mate. I'm just saying it's just not. Look, if last Saturday against Stoke is an indication going forward that that's what the standard will be, then I see no reason why we shouldn't finish in the top 6. However, I just feel like, I don't know, there's just something there that just doesn't feel right to me, and I don't know what it is. For me, I just don't feel with Beale we'll get in the playoffs, but I'd love to be wrong. I'd absolutely love to be wrong. Right, the window. For me personally, Thane gave it a 4 out of 10 at the start of the window. I personally would say I'll give it a 5 out of 10, because I think the only thing I would add to that is because a few people were worried we were going to lose Clark in January. I personally wasn't. I didn't think we were ever going to lose Clark in January. And I've said before, I'd accepted that he'll go in the summer if we don't go up, and I've made peace with that months ago. But with Clark, I thought we would keep him in January, and I thought if we sold him in January, that would have been pretty pathetic, if I'm honest. But yeah, I'll say 5 out of 10. I do think if Styles, and I'm making that on the assumption that the Styles is the midfielder that we are wanting. Sorry, Anthony, very quickly. Chances of if we got in the playoffs of winning it, it depends for me who's in the playoffs. If we have one of Southampton or Leeds get second, then we might have a chance. I don't know, but we'll have to see. So the window, I'd rated a 5 out of 10. Keeping Clark, signing Styles as a midfielder. We've signed Mundell because I did think we needed another winger, especially with Bennett going out. He was the other one. Yelder, I think a bit of cover at the back. I'll say 5 out of 10. But to be honest, I wouldn't say we're weaker than we were at the start of the window, but I can't really say we're stronger either. I think we're about the same level. So I'd say 5 out of 10, slight bang average. Not terrible, but nothing exciting really either. But again, I trust the recruitment team, so we'll see what happens with that one. And look, if these signings don't work out, and I'm talking at the end of the season if they haven't worked out, not after 5 games, then fair enough. Criticism's fair enough and justified. Santa Claus, I think it would be better if we don't go up. The squad isn't ready for the Prem, not consistent enough. Look, don't get me wrong. I still want us to get in the playoffs because I think we've then regressed off last season if we don't finish in the playoffs. But at the same time, last season we had Stewart for a handful of games and we had Ahmad, didn't we? So it's a double-edged sword. It swings in roundabouts, doesn't it? Anthony says, I would love to see a bar turnaround for the last half of the season. Rocco Pro podcast, great pod, by the way. The other day said in his last 15 games at right wing, he's got 4 goals and 5 assists. The boy just needs some consistency. Yeah. I mean, look, Bar's one where in technical ability as a player, I think Roberts is streets ahead of him. But I can't argue with the numbers. The numbers don't lie. And I think Bar last week with me was man of the match. I thought he played superbly, actually. James Will, not achieving playoffs and finishing 8th with signs for a good next season after is what I'd be happy with. I think one final part I would mention is this season, even if we finish in the playoffs, I don't think we'd win them. I don't think we get promoted. So you might be asking, why do you want to finish in the playoffs? But just because I want to match what we did last year. For me, in terms of this season, when you look at, say, Leicester, Leeds and Southampton, those 3 have got... I know Ipswich obviously are still up in second, I think it is. They're still up in second, but I'd be amazed if Ipswich finish ahead of Southampton or Leeds, to be honest. Those three relegated clubs have got monumentally stupid squads for this level, in a good way, obviously. So James was Roberts is Mr. No goals and one assist. If he's so good, why doesn't he do anything good? Eye test, mate. I do watch it. I watch him, and I think there is a good player there. I wonder whether if we actually started putting the balls in the box and got and met the strikers, I bet it wouldn't be surprised if Roberts' assists went up. But there you go. So, in my own opinion, I think this season, with the relegated sides, they're just stupidly good at this level. And I think this is why I want Southampton or Leeds, one of them, to finish second. I want one of them to get into the top two. So then two of the relegated sides are out of the division next season. We have to think about it. But at the same time, I think if we don't finish in the playoffs or if we do and don't win them, then I want the other relegated side to go up ideally because you want them three out of it. Because if for example, Burnley and Sheffield United come down next season and say Luton come down with them, or even if Everton do. Everton obviously are a massive club, huge club, one of the biggest clubs in the country, but they'd be screwed financially if they come down. So they'd have to sell a lot of assets off. But Everton should still be able to keep a core of the team that's there. Burnley and Sheffield United, however, I think Sheffield United, I know Casey's not going to like this, but I think Sheffield United, I don't think would do as well as people might think. Chris Wilder there, you never know if he stays beyond this season. But I think the point is Burnley and Sheffield United, for example, will be weaker than what the relegated sides are this year. And you got to bear in mind, yes, we can lose Clark, yes, we can lose Ballard, but so do other clubs lose players as well. I think a lot of our fans don't take that into consideration. I think next season, providing, and this is a big if here, providing Seal is, say, Ballard's replacement, if he happens to go, hopefully Ballard doesn't go, but you're right, we can't rule it out. There's a good chance. And say you get a lot of money for Clark, but you then reinvest that wisely, which I do trust Speakman and Stuart Harvey to do, by the way. Then I think if that does happen, I think next season's our biggest chance to go up. You could argue we had a missed the chance last season, but look, if it's not going to be this year, then I think next season would be a bigger chance if we get it right. But that's a big if. Anthony Johnson says, we don't, I know he called you Anthony Patson there for some reason. We don't talk much about losing Ballard. He is up there as good as Clark. Surely be looking upwards of 20 million. I just think defenders don't go for anywhere near as much as that. Okay, I'll say around 15, maybe 15 plus. I think that's about fair. But the one thing I am glad with Sunderland is that we're digging our heels in. And this is the idea that we're just a selling club. Like, if that was the case, then Clark would have been gone a year ago. If that was the case, then Ballard would have probably been gone ages ago. Neil would have been gone ages ago. Patel would have been gone ages ago. But we haven't done that yet. So obviously, yet's the key word. But I think I'm glad. Hopefully, we'll dig our heels and say, no. That's the price we want. We're selling for that price. If you don't like it, he's staying. And I'm glad. Good. Glad we should have had a backbone about that years ago. Holton Dave. The club missed a huge opportunity to put a bit of feel-good factor back amongst the place. Weak signings. Fans are being taken for fools again. If you want promotion, make it happen. I still think the squad we've got should be capable of finishing in the playoffs. It's just Beale whether it's causing a bit of doubt in my mind at that. Well, and obviously injuries. DJ said Robert's very frustrating. His end product is poor. He's missing his pal Ahmad. James says I agree. Looks exciting, but when teams have learned to stand off him, so he runs into cul-de-sacs and he'll lose it. I like that. Let's have a look. So, Glenn Jones, parachute payments certainly help. Yep, they do. DJ said, personally would love to see Everton through the trapdoor. They've got very lucky this year and it's long overdue. Geez, how they got lucky. They've been punished for a little reason. Yeah, well, as I said, I think Everton, it all depends on who they end up keeping if they were to go down. I don't think Everton will go down, by the way. I think Dyche will keep them up. But there you go. I've got a lot of time for Everton, but that's just me. Maybe I'm in an unpopular opinion on that. Serious. Hello. Evans must be back soon. I said I wouldn't have been surprised if we hadn't had gone for a midfielder with the proviso that Evans is going to come back and play. But again, as Anthony says, will Evans play ever again? Or is he going to be the same player when he does come back fit? There's also a risk of that. Right, guys, I think I'm going to start to wrap it up here. I was originally intending this to be about 20 minutes, half an hour, and typically knowing me, I end up going on for about 45 minutes or so. Thanks to everybody who watched last night on the SCFC Fan TV stream, and fair play to Mike, by the way. Hey, Hannah, sorry, we're literally just finishing up as you're coming in. But for me, thanks to everyone who joined last night on Fan TV, and fair play to Mike for managing to host it as long as he did. That was insane. But it was good to be a part of Fan TV again. It was nice. I don't think it's a permanent thing. It's just a temporary sort of thing. But people were asking, but we seemed happy to see us there, so that was nice. So, what do you think of the transfer window? To summarise, 5 out of 10. think we've got a couple of decent-ish players in prospect, but still left short in a couple of positions I would have liked us to have gone for. But the rest, we've got 17 games left. All we can do now is we've got a third of the season left, so we've got to get behind the lads. Fingers crossed we get in the playoffs, or at least have a good end of the season, and then we'll see what that, and we'll reassess transfers in the summer. Take care, guys. Thanks ever so much, everybody who's put up with me waffling. Hit the like button; it would mean a lot to us. And yeah, see you from your video on Sunday for the Borough game. Take care, stay safe, and how are the lads?